Hi everyone. In this short video, I'm going to share with you how the drawing of the Wheel of Consent came into being. And so I will share my screen with you. So last week we talked about receiving and giving, and we defined receiving as being about the gift that is being given, as opposed to the action. And we talked about how there are two ways that we can give and two ways that we can receive. So most of us are most familiar with giving as being connected to the doing. So if I'm giving you a gift, I'm taking the action for your benefit. An example of this would be giving a massage. So the massage is for you, and I'm doing the action for your benefit. And on the other side of that, receiving, when the gift is for me, is about something being done to me. So the gift is for me, and the action is coming toward me. This is what most people are most familiar with. So the gift moves from the giver to the receiver, and the action moves in the same direction. It's two distinct things that are happening, but for most of us, we conflate those two things, the gift and the action. And so if I'm giving, then I'm therefore doing. But there's another way that we can receive. We can receive by taking action or moving toward what it is we want. So I'm receiving, it's for me, and I'm doing the action. On the other side of that, the person who's giving the gift is being done to. So they're giving the gift of access. That might be access to their body, that might be access to their time or their attention. And in this case, the gift moves from the person giving to the person receiving, and the action moves in the opposite direction. So you might notice, like, what's happening? Your brain does a little twist. And this is normal, this is natural. So an example of receiving in this way might be that I ask for another person to listen to me. So I ask for their attention. I'm doing the talking, and the talking is for me. And the other is giving this gift of being present, being alert, even being an active listener for my benefit. But I'm talking about whatever it is I want to talk about. Or it might be that I ask to take action and move toward someone. An example might be I ask, may I feel your hair? May I run my fingers through your hair? This might be a friend, it might be a lover. Most often it's someone we know and have an agreement with. And so we ask to do something that would feel good to us. And the other person gives the gift of access, in this example, access to their body. So another example of the difference between these two is a gift of fruit. So if my neighbor has a fruit tree and they offer some of this fresh fruit to me, there are two ways that I can receive that gift. So the first would be an example of where the person giving the gift is doing the action. So my neighbor might pick the fruit and bring the basket to my door and offer me this gift of the fruit. So they're giving the gift and they're doing the action to bring it to me. That's this first example. I'm receiving that gift and I didn't have to do anything to get it. So the second example of that is if my neighbor calls me and says, would you like some fruit? And I say, yes, that sounds wonderful. I would love some. And they offer, come over anytime and pick as much fruit as you would like. So they're offering me the same gift of the fruit, but in this case, I am going next door. I'm picking the fruit and I'm carrying it home. So I'm receiving the gift and I'm taking action to receive it. So how did this turn into this drawing of the wheel of consent? So as Betty Martin was playing and noticing the difference in these two ways of giving and two ways of receiving, she put together the picture of the wheel of consent. So on one axis of this wheel, we have the giving, and on the other side is the person receiving. So two sides. I can either be giving, I'm giving the gift, it's what I'm willing to offer to another, or I'm receiving, it's what I want and it's for me. So two options there. We then add another layer in the other direction. So on the top half, I'm doing the action, and on the bottom half, I'm done to. And this creates 4 possibilities for engaging. 2 ways of giving, where I'm either giving and I'm doing, which puts us here in this top left corner, or I can be giving and I can be done to, which puts us in this bottom left corner. On the receiving side, I can receive 2 ways. I can be receiving and I can be doing the action, or I can be receiving and I can be done to, which puts me in this bottom right corner. So what does that look like? If I am giving a gift of my action, we call this quadrant the serve quadrant. So I'm taking action for another's benefit. The person who's receiving and is done to, we call this quadrant the accept quadrant. So I'm accepting this gift that's coming toward me, and I accept it wholeheartedly. It's what I want, and I'm happily receiving it. So in this dynamic of the wheel, the action moves from the doing half, in this case, the serving quadrant, to the done to half, in this case, the accept quadrant. And the gift moves in the same direction. So the gift moves from the giving half, in this case, the serve quadrant, over to the receiving half, which is the accept quadrant in this example. So again, an example of this serve-accept dynamic. This is the dynamic that most of us are most familiar with. Giving a massage, giving a gift, giving someone a package, like a birthday gift. It's where we take action for the benefit of another. I might cook you dinner or take out the garbage if my partner asks me to do that. So I take the action and it's for the benefit of another. There's another dynamic that's possible in this second form of receiving, where I am receiving and I'm taking action for what I want. We call this quadrant the take quadrant. Now, for some people, take can conjure images of overtaking, of stealing, of assault. And this is true if there's no agreement. What we're talking about is taking in the gift. This is taking in what it is we want and what someone is willing, happily, and able to give us. And we do that within an agreement. And we'll talk about what that looks like when there's no agreement later on. On the other side of this, when we give the gift of access, and we are done to, we call this quadrant the allow quadrant. So we're allowing another to take action for their own benefit. And again, we do this fully in consent, fully in agreement, knowing that we can change our mind anytime and say, stop, that's enough. So in this dynamic, the action moves again from the doing half to the done to half. So from the take to the allow. And the gift moves from the giving half, in this case, the allow quadrant, to the receiving half, in this case, the take quadrant. And so the action moves one way and the gift moves in the opposite way. And this is something that can create a sense of confusion. So again, an example of this take-allow dynamic is where I ask, if I'm in take and receiving, I ask for permission to do what I want with a yes from the other. So I might ask if you will listen while I speak. I might ask you to witness while I dance and move my body. I might ask for permission to reach out and hold your hand, or put my arms around you, or play with your hair. So I'm asking to do what I want, and I'm asking you if I'm allowed to do that. So what creates all of these quadrants and these two dynamics is this magic circle called consent. And so the way to create this circle of consent is by asking, by making a request for what it is we want. So if there's something we want to reach out and do for ourselves, for our own benefit, we ask the question, may I? May I run my fingers through your hair? May I put my arms around you? May I lay my head in your lap? May I borrow your car to run some errands? So I'm asking for this permission, and I'm waiting for a verbal yes. Yes, you may do that. Yes, you are more than welcome. And that creates this container within which we can have this exchange of the gift. To create the serve-accept dynamic, it's the question of will you? So I'm asking if you are willing to take this action for my benefit. Will you give me a back massage? Will you play with my hair? Will you cook dinner tonight? Will you take out the garbage? And I'm waiting for a verbal yes. Yes, I will do that. Yes, I'm willing. Yes, I'm happy to, but only for 5 minutes. So there might be limits put on that. So it is this verbal agreement that creates each of these dynamics. And we call this the Wheel of Consent, which was created by Dr. Betty Martin. So we will talk more in later segments about what happens outside of this circle of consent. What happens when people do things without having the agreement first, or when people are done to but haven't given a verbal yes or made a request. So each of these quadrants has a shadow that we will talk about later. So that's it for now. Thank you and enjoy.